second time he used the graphic. Marco Rubio just announced, in fact, just a few minutes ago, that he is joining the Republican field for 2016. He had this to say.
We must change the decisions we are making by changing the people who are making them. That is why tonight, grounded by the lessons of our history, but inspired by the promise of our future, I announce my candidacy for President of the United States.
All right. Dominic, is he electable?
I was hoping you didn't start with me, but I'll answer the question. I'll be direct and answer the question. No, he has zero possibility of winning the Republican. Richard,
youthful, Florida, Latino.
Richard, the Latino part, take that off the table. The Latino community doesn't even really support him when you look at the entire community. I don't see any base. I think he's running for a cabinet job, seriously, or to be number 2 on the ticket. Maybe that's a possibility. But in order to do that, you got to run as a candidate. Zero possibility.
Okay. Anybody disagree with electability?
Yeah. He's serious as a heart attack. He is a front runner or a top tier Republican candidate.
Top tier.
Absolutely. He's an alternative to Jeb Bush and Scott Walker. He's conservative. He's got a much higher. He's got a better. He plays better for the cameras than those two guys do. If Scott Walker blows up, he instantly runs into number 2 position. He is dismiss him at your own peril. Dismiss him at your own peril. I'm not saying Latinos are going to vote for him. I'm saying Republicans and conservatives are going to like this guy.
If you think about this, this is somebody who has been a mentee of Jeb Bush for how many years? The fact that he chooses to slap him in the face and run, I think is objectionable. Not to mention for Republicans, how much did they attack Barack Obama for the last 7-8 years about being a first-term senator running? Now we have Marco Rubio. Now we have Ted Cruz. I mean, now we have Rand Paul.
American, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think this is a big problem for him.
I don't agree with Andrew on top tier. I think there's one top tier candidate in that field, and that's Jeb Bush, and everybody else is second rounds. I think you see the cameras, you see the TV interviews. Just Jeb Bush looks presidential.
Well, that rebuttal of Rubio, I think it's hard to get out of your mind. I'm going for the water.
Unbelievably.
Mark down the time of day that you said.
Here is the more interesting question to me, and Andrew, it bears up these questions. Republicans swear they're not making the same mistakes that they made 4 years ago or that they made 8 years ago. They're not going to eat their own in a primary. But to the basic question of would they rather win or would they rather have a candidate that passes the purity test? The poll numbers are kind of interesting.
Well, I would argue that this particular field makes it great for their front runner, because everybody in this field makes Jeb Bush look more presidential and more centrist.
I mean, if you go back to the numbers that we just had up from a NBC News, Wall Street Journal poll in early March, Republican voters said it's candidates whose views I agree with. Number 2 was strong leadership, and number 3 was somebody who can beat the Democratic candidate. But it's easy on an issue poll to sort of give the answer that you think sounds right, or that you think people want to hear. Like it's easier for me to say, no, I want somebody who agrees with my positions, but people get a little more realistic when they walk into the ballot box, and I think actually picking somebody who could win.
But you know, Jeannie, can't Republicans, conservatives say, hey, wait a minute. I tried it your way 4 years ago with Mitt Romney. I held my nose and I went for some moderate out of Massachusetts or Utah, wherever he's calling home right now. That's not who I was, but I went along, and what did it get me? 8 years ago, I went along with McCain. Look what it got me then. I didn't like him either. They weren't real conservatives. Give me a real conservative and the base will turn out. The math doesn't support it, but you get that sentiment out there where folks believe, conservatives believe, that the reason they don't have a Republican in the White House is they went along to go along.
Yeah, but the reality is, and I think we always forget this, you are running to be the nominee of a political party. That is the reality of the situation. And the political party is what? The establishment of the political party. So you have to appeal. That's why, as exciting as Rand Paul may be, he's not going to be able to piece together a coalition to get the nomination of the Republican Party. Same thing goes for Marco Rubio. You have to appeal to the establishment of the party, because guess what? I'm asking to be their nominee.
Agree with everything you said, but look what happened 4 and 8 years ago.
Thank you, Richard.
In the primary, they had to tack to the right so much that in the general, it was hard to step back from the social policy.
But they didn't have to tack to the right so much. The reality is he decided to tack to the right so much, but whether he had to or not, You're asking to be the nominee of a political party. The political party establishment is what is going to decide whether or not you're the nominee in the end. That's the reality of running for a party nomination. They're not running to be president. They're running to be a nominee. And that's what we often forget. And the party establishment is going to control that, whether the left, right, or center wants it or not. Okay. Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
I
have nothing to say.
I guess that's it.
That's so not true. He has plenty to say.
We come back. The biggest issue before the announcements was and still is the scene out of South Carolina. People focusing on that second cop in the scene of the fatal shooting. The officer who killed Walter Scott, he's behind bars. We're going to tell you why some folks want the other officer to join him as well.